Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning for those that have not had lunch yet, as me. I am Victoria Herrero Garcia, one of the co-chairs with the Carbon Leadership Forum Rocky Mountain Hub. Today, we have on the agenda to do our welcome news and CLF overview, as always, and then we will present our speaker today that is going to cover BuiltCold and Buy Clean Colorado tax exemption. We will have enough time for a Q&A and or any other comments, suggestions that you might have. So just to know a little about all of us, for those familiar with the group, we started in 2020, and we were 3 co-chairs. Now we are up to 5, and our newest addition was Annie Kell. With many of you might know her. She also volunteers for the USGBC Colorado. We want to bring some embodied carbon news to you. There are some that they are related to Colorado specifically, but others that are nationwide. So the CLF just released the most updated model embodied carbon specifications, and we can copy that link. Michaela or Bailey, would you mind to, or I think Annie's here, whoever, one of the other co-chairs can uh, paste the links on the chat, that would be awesome. And the New York State has released also a Buy Clean Concrete guidance, which is very exciting. We do have our Buy Clean Colorado, which also has thresholds for concrete, but in the state of New York, there is only a specific to concrete. Then, very exciting announcement that Women of Carbon screening will be happening on Thursday, March 6th, thanks to DLR for organizing. We are also participating in the CLF Rocky Mountain Hub and the USGBC and the Colorado Embodied Colorado. Please, somebody, if I say it wrong, help me with the Colorado Collaborative.
The Colorado
Embodied Carbon.
Embodied Carbon Collaborative. You got it.
Thank you, Bailey. So there will be a lot of people like-minded with carbon emissions reductions in general. So if you are interested in attending, we will be sending an email and a post on LinkedIn with the registration for the event. I think Annie or somebody else also has the link that can post on the chat. Thank you. What is the Carbon Leadership Forum? It's an independent nonprofit which hosts research, education, and cross sectors. And then the hub itself, we are committed to embodied carbon reductions and education, but it's all volunteering work that we do. The Carbon Leadership Forum has the community, and within the community, if you haven't registered and you're interested on having an account for that, please let us know. We can. There's another slide with all the links too, but we can also send you some more information. There's different current focus groups that you can join if you're interested in a specific topic, or you can join the entire, you create an account for the community and then you can join different groups. You can contact us at any time via email at clfrockymountainhub@gmail.com. We have the links here for the community, our YouTube channel where we post all webinar recordings. And also, if you are not registered for our newsletter, the link will be put in the chat as well. And with that, I want to introduce you today to Taylor Lionel. With 15 years of experience developing enterprise software solutions for Fortune 100 companies, Taylor co-founded BuiltCold in 2022, a tool designed to help governments at levels federal, state, and local implement low-carbon construction programs with minimal disruption to the AEC community. Having grown up in Colorado and started his career in Denver, Taylor is excited to present to CLF's Rocky Mountain Hub to showcase how new state laws can reduce construction costs. And with that, Taylor, want to take over?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, first and foremost, incredibly excited to be presenting. I've been a huge advocate of CLF and everything that's going on in Colorado. The presentation is very informal. Feel free to jump in with questions. There is time a lot at the end, but I know sometimes it's best to kind of get it when the topic's hot. The presentation is going to essentially go into three parts. The first part is a brief overview of BuiltCold, kind of who we are and how we got here. And then we're going to do a kind of a one-on-one on the Buy Clean Colorado Act sales and use tax exemption incentive. It's a very new program, and we've been working with the OSA and the Department of Revenue to try and make it as simple as possible to capture the incentive and reduce your cost of construction. And then we'll jump into BuiltCold, which is a tool that is really targeted to help with the deployment and implementation of these Buy Clean programs. And as Victoria said, our focus is reducing the burden on both the agencies as well as the AEC community that's trying to take advantage of these incentives. I'll be watching out for the chat. So if you want to come in with questions, I can also answer on the fly. There you go. I will share my screen. Victoria, send a request to share.
You should be able to share now.
Perfect. Very cool. Well, the company's called BuiltCold. You can find us at builtcold.com. But our mission and who I am. So I'm Taylor, grew up in Colorado. Our team is half based in Colorado at the moment. But we essentially have been focused on accelerating low carbon construction at all levels of government. And that's because our mission is to build software and develop essentially solutions that help governments implement and create Buy Clean programs that mandate or incentivize the use of low carbon construction materials. So how can we help essentially change the conversation around how to motivate and drive more adoption of these materials that can dramatically reduce the embodied carbon of a building? And our journey starts with the Inflation Reduction Act. So a bunch of colleagues and former teammates of mine decided to really focus on how do we reduce the embodied carbon of construction, but there's really no incentives out there. California was early, but when the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, this was the big kind of catalyst for us to say we can start building software to make it easier to find and leverage these new incentives. And so this led us to start building BuiltCold. And we launched with the Federal Buy Clean Initiative in 2023. Our solution was highly tailored to the federal programs. So we focused on projects that were run by the GSA with support from the EPA. The GSA is the General Service Administration, or the landlord of the federal government. And the GSA was in charge of deploying several $billions to subsidize or pay for the low carbon materials. And what we found is that there was a big opportunity to help not only the agencies overseeing the program, but also the contractors looking to bid on these federal projects to help kind of bridge the gap between what materials qualified and how would you track compliance. And we currently support over $2 billion in IRA funding, which is kind of a unique state at the moment, but that's 156 projects across the country that we've been supporting the federal government at. We then, with the learnings from the federal government, we then started focusing on state level Buy Clean programs. And what's really been really fun for us is that because we're from Colorado and having Colorado be such a leader with the Buy Clean Colorado Act, we knew that was the first state we wanted to expand into. What's also interesting about the state of Colorado and their Buy Clean program is that it has both a public works or public sector requirement and a private sector incentive. And obviously today we'll be talking almost entirely about the private sector incentive and how the general contractors and design firms can capture the sales tax exemption. But looking toward 2025, we're still continuing to support the federal government. We're launching to more states, and we're launching what we call the bike lane playbook. So historically, BuiltCold has come in to build software for bike lane programs that are already launched. But now we're building software that makes it easier for agencies at every level of government to start to model and define what their bike lane programs could do. And our goal with the playbook is to reduce the cost by 80%, speed up the deployment of bike lane programs by 5%, or by 5 times. And then we want to increase the industry exposure and engagement on these bike lane programs much earlier in the process. And our goal here is if we reduce the cost and make it as much simpler, you'll then see bike lane programs start to proliferate across the country and kind of fill the vacuum that we're seeing at the federal government. But all of that playbook wouldn't be possible with the amazing work of the Bike Lane Colorado Act team, the Office of State Architect, as well as folks at Victoria. So getting to where it matters, how do we start saving some cash using these incentives? I'll go through kind of the bike lane tax incentive 101. There's 4 parts of this. So the very first thing is kind of what is it? So it applies to any materials that were purchased after July 1st, 2024 that have been approved by the Office of the Architect. These purchases across several categories. They include asphalt, concrete, cement, flat glass, steel, and wood, and there's several subcategories for all of these materials. Below each of these kind of 101 callouts, we have links, and I'll share this presentation afterwards too. So you can see the kind of the overview of the act, and then you can also see a really cool tool by the Department of Revenue to look up the sales tax exemption rules in your county. For every county we've looked at, the sales tax exemption is applied, which is a 2.9% essentially exemption for the purchase of these qualified materials. For the EPD eligibility, so for those that don't know what EPD is, this is an environmental product declaration or the nutrition label of a construction material. Now, in order for a material to qualify for the tax incentive, not only does the EPD have to meet the eligibility requirements, meaning it has to hit the GWP or the global warming potential threshold set out by the OSA, plus some other requirements, it then needs to be approved directly by the OSA, and that is visible on the Department of Revenue's website as well as in BuiltCold. Now, if you have an EPD that you would like to be reviewed, there is an EPD submission form that you can use that would send that the request to the Office of the Architect. And the last part of the 101 is how do you actually use the incentive? Well, the incentive by how the act is written, it should be applied at the point of sale. So meaning if you are purchasing a qualifying concrete mix that has an EPD that's been approved by the OSA, you should not be paying sales tax. However, this is a very nascent program, and we are hearing from our partners in the field that we're just not seeing that be applied across the board. And so there are several ways that we're looking to kind of increase adoption of this with our supply partners, as well as kind of material manufacturers in the space. But there's also some forms that we can supply to help that process. The first form is the pre-purchase form. So this is where if you are working with a supplier that has the ability to produce a material that meets the thresholds for the Bike Lane Colorado Act, but does not have those EPDs approved by the OSA, you essentially can use this form, which is the DR 5002, which is from the Department of Revenue. You can submit this form that would then you would share with your essentially your vendor or your supplier, and this would help essentially allow you to essentially claim that sales tax exemption. If you've purchased already the material and you still paid sales tax, you then have the post-purchase pathway, which is another form, which is the DR 0137B, and this form allows you to essentially try and get a refund from your purchase if the sales tax was paid. Mike, I see your question. Does this exempt the buyer from state and city tax? No, it's only the state sales tax and use tax. Any other questions on the 101 or the 2 forms you potentially would need to use? Very cool. Once again, I'll be passing out, we'll be sharing this presentation in PDF form, so you have all the links available to you. So how does BuiltCold play into all of this? So BuiltCold, having built software for the federal government and the state of Colorado for helping out with compliance for the BCCO kind of public work side, how you can use BuiltCold for the private sector incentive is kind of threefold. The first one is being able to discover and locate the producers that have an EPD and a product that it qualifies. And we'll go through this live in the demo. But when you come into BuiltCold, our solution essentially tracks every single EPD and then qualifies it against the incentive that's in play. So as you can see in the screenshot, we're able to isolate or identify the EPDs that have already been approved by the OSA for tax exemptions. And this goes across all of the key materials in the Bike Lane Colorado Act. So that includes concrete, steel, glass, asphalt, and wood, which we just launched in beta. The second way BuiltCold can help is that we can help you plan. So we have a specified or a specific module for the tax incentive that allows you to add your bid items or your pay items or your building elements is all customizable. And then we essentially track in real time how much your potential sales tax could be. This is really powerful if you want to model different materials in your project, or you want to be able to, if you're a design partner, go to your GC and say, here's the potential savings. There's many ways this has been leveraged or is being talked about being leveraged. But the ability is that you can essentially in one screen find all of the compliant materials and then start to kind of plan out which ones would give you the biggest sales tax opportunities. And the last really powerful way that BuiltCold can help is that we can help document and give you an audit trail if there is any issue with sales tax. So when you work in BuiltCold, you can always export a PDF, and this PDF is a live document, live meaning that can be updated, and just use it to create a new PDF. But this can be shared with your supply partners, this can be shared with your agency partners, but ultimately it's a really clean way to share what materials you're looking at and if they're compliant or not. And as you can tell, this is a very new program in the Colorado. So there's going to be, I think, a need for increased auditability for how these sales tax exemptions are being used. I'll pause there if any questions on a high level of how BuiltCold helps before we go into the demo. Very cool. All right, so when you go to BuiltCold.com, this is available to everyone today. We have a very easy way to find and create projects rather. I'm actually going to start though and show you what a complete project looks like, and then we'll go step by step on how you can use this in your firms. So I'll go to my pre-created project, which is right here, your projects. I'll then scroll down to a project that I know is already live. Take a second to load. Apologies for this. There we go. So these are all the projects I have created. I'll collapse this just to kind of focus the demo. But in this project, this is a Colorado residential project. And how BuiltCold is designed is that we try to make it really easy to organize all the materials and essentially your compliance state for those projects and the materials. So at first it goes based on the location of the project. So this holiday complex is based in Denver off Colfax Avenue. We then look up all of the producers that have submitted an EPD. Now, 90% of our data comes from Building Transparencies, which is a nonprofit that supports a database called the EC3 database. And this is where these EPDs are getting pulled from. And there is the ability to submit EPDs in a different pathway, but we really try to encourage folks to go to EC3 because it makes it really easy for us to kind of organize and manage all the data. So all of these producers have been identified based on their proximity to the project. So this is, this particular plant is 2 miles from the project. This one's 3.39 miles away. When you look at the top level data on the row, we're showing the federal guidance, not the Colorado guidance at this point. This will be changing in this quarter, But what you see here is that we have top 20, top 40, and above average. That's because in the federal government, they have categorized their global warming potential thresholds by in tiers. So this means that there's, for this particular plant, there's 5 products in the top 20% threshold, 12 in the top 40, and then 15 above average. In Colorado, though, when you click on a producer, it's a pass-fail approach. So in Colorado, we show the performance very simply by tax exempt or tax eligible or not eligible. These different compliance labels it's a multi-part step, but if it's eligible, it means that this EPD meets the requirements of the Bike and Cartel Act, but it has not been approved yet by the Office of the State Architect. If it has been approved by the Office of the State Architect, we have a tax exempt label, which you can see here. If the EPD available does not meet the thresholds of the Bike and Cartel Act thresholds, we deem it non-eligible. Now, when you look at this data, this is the concrete. We have steel, glass, asphalt, and wood. I'll come back to concrete. Each row underneath a supplier, we show the EPD name, we show the PCR, the product category rules, to show you it's up to date, and then we show you when the EPD expires, which is critical to make sure that it's going to be available throughout the entirety of the project. We do provide subcategories of the product: compressive strength for concrete alone. You get the global warming potential, which all these tooltips are available if you're new to kind of embodied carbon. We show the federal performance still, and then most importantly, the Colorado performance. Now, if you want to go beyond reviewing your suppliers, maybe you have a supplier that you always go to. We'll go to Burnco here. You essentially would then be able to click the materials you want to have under consideration. So I'm choosing these 4 mixes. I will also choose, let's say, a rebar. And let's say I'm looking at asphalt, but I want to see how far away it is. You can always click on the mileage to see the drive time. This is really powerful for A4, or just to understand the proximity of the project. And I'll choose these 2 asphalt mixes. One thing to note, though, about EPDs and what we've really worked with the industry to help kind of reframe is that this should be leveraged more as a resume versus a menu. Menu meaning I just don't click a bunch of EPDs and I think I'm going to purchase them and use them in the project, but rather that these suppliers are capable of producing an EPD that meets the thresholds of the project and allows you to gain that sales tax exemption incentive. So really want to call that out, because I know, especially for concrete and asphalt, a lot of these mixes are project centric. Therefore, it's not always apples to apples on who's available on this list and who's able to actually produce the qualifying EPD. Now, once you've selected your materials, this is essentially kind of your sandbox area. We break out the materials by the parent category. For each materials, we got concrete, steel, and asphalt. You can always open up a EPD to see more information. You can also drop some notes here. So let's say you are just trying to do some easy estimations. You can say 1,000 cubic meters for this material, and this is the foundation work. You can always add notes. For every single EPD, we have an activity log. So it's going to go back to the auditability of all this. So we track when a EPD has been moved from kind of selected to perhaps you want to put it into design. Essentially, it allows you to quickly assess what the history of this particular EPD. And another feature of BuiltCold is that you can invite project partners. So these are obviously my demo partners, but you can invite anyone from a general contractor, your supplier, even government agencies can be included into this document or into this platform. And then when you invite a project partner, you can essentially share notes. So I can say, hi there, just to make it easy. So that's where that collaboration as you kind of debate and assess which EPDs make the most sense for your project. Now, the last part of the kind of our sales tax incentive module, which is what this is the project materials. Now, this is the completely filled out version. But what you'll see here is we're auto calculating the GWP or the emissions of the materials by bid item, and then we're telling you in real time how much money you're saving. So to walk you through the top 3 out of the box charts, First, we have a total GWP for the project. This is 5 million kilograms CO2 equivalent. And then we break it out by bid item. So all these numbers are fabricated, but this is 1.9 million in terms of emissions for the foundation, the pavement, so forth. How our compliance tracking works for bid items, or I think of this as bid items, pay items, building elements. You can customize it and how the terminology you prefer. But for bid items, we show if it's compliant, partially compliant, not compliant, or EPD pending. If a bid item is compliant, it means that all of the products and associated EPDs meet the thresholds of that jurisdiction, or in this case, of that incentive requirement. Partially compliant means that you have the bid item and the product, but not all of the EPDs associated with that product are compliant. Now, this could occur, for instance, if you have kind of reinforced concrete and your concrete mix is compliant, but your rebar isn't. Non-compliant means that every EPD that's been attached to that particular product and bid item does not meet the thresholds. And then EPD pending means that there is a EPD that needs to be uploaded to that product to essentially assess if it's compliant or not. This is actually really critical too, because this allows for your partners to develop EPDs as the project gets going. So a lot of times you'll have project-specific mixes, which then need their own EPD, and that allows you to track this in real time. And then our final chart shows the actual real-time calculation. Now, this is not absolute. This can change based on, obviously, so many different factors, but this gives you directionally how much savings you'll have if you choose these materials. And how our calculations work is that for every bid item, we track volume and cost. So you're seeing the total material cost. And then we analyze of all the materials you've uploaded, how many are compliant. And then we essentially segment out that cost, which in this case would be 4 million. And then based on the sales tax exemption of this county, you essentially now have over $100,000 in sales tax savings just by using available compliant materials. And these are all the bid items. Concrete pavement foundation, once again, all fictional. When you look at a particular bid item, we show if the whole bid item is compliant. We show how many products are included under that bid item, how many EPDs have been added, and then the total GWP for just that bid item. When you open up a bid item, you can add a quick description. Once again, we track everything. So we have an activity log. If I want to change the EPD, if I want to change the volume, if I want to change the cost. Once again, I can share notes as well. And in this case, I have 3 products, each with their own EPD. We track the quantity of each particular EPD, the price. This one's not set, so therefore it's not being calculated. And then we have the total GWP. When you open up a product, you then have the EPD available. And you can separate this out. So, and we'll go into kind of doing this from scratch. But we have different ways that you can calculate if you want to have them separate products or separate EPDs per product. It's quite flexible in that regard. And the last thing I'll demo before we do a project from scratch is that you see down here, you can download a PDF. This is that auditability. So when I click download PDF, it's now going to be capturing the project details as well as all the materials I have selected for this project. And this is what you can use to send to your partners if needed. And this will be enriched too with more of your project materials data as our software improves. All right, any questions on the overview of the full product or the full project materials breakout before I show you how to create your own?
I've got one, Taylor. This is Michaela.
Hey.
Hello. I was just curious, can you remind me, you might have already said it, but so is the compliant ones are within the, and maybe this is also a question for Bailey, but if you're in the 20th percentile, you're at the below the threshold. Is that right? Or is it 20th, 40?
So I can answer this one.
Yeah.
So the compliance is based on the program or on the incentive. So in this case, this is the Buy Clean Car Act sales tax exemption compliance. So in that case, it's based on the thresholds of what the OSA has set.
Yeah.
The federal data you saw in the kind of the nearby tab is simply just to show you what this would rate at the federal level.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There are lots of great, I think Victoria's been a huge advocate of kind of us formatting this so it's a little clearer, because that question comes up a lot.
So that was the OSA limits, and then so there's no like, okay, 40th percentile if anything else. It's just
correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Got it.
So
Thanks.
yeah, so when we do compliance, it's based on the Colorado OSA threshold.
Cool.
Any other questions? Very cool. I will then go to kind of so this is, once again, this is all the kind of the AEC view, the contractor, the design firm view. I will now go from the very beginning of that view. If you are from the agency side or you essentially manage the projects, we can also do a one-off meeting to show you how that view looks like. But to start from scratch, I will go back to the homepage, BuiltCold.com. We have this essentially toggle system where you can go public sector, private sector. Public sector, we break out federal. What we do here is it allows you to see all the federal projects we've already ingested. But given that we're focusing on the private sector incentive, I'll go private sector, and I'll do residential or commercial, and I'll go commercial. Now, when you come to the project creation form, it's very simple, just a few fields. We'll just do kind of we'll call this CLF complex. I'm also going to do my favorite house I lived in Denver. Right next to Wash Park. It was such a cool house after college. And then we'll do commercial, and we'll choose new build or renovation, but we'll do new build. We'll call this just any owner, so we'll go kind of Smith Developments. You can add a control contractor. You don't have to if you're the design firm, but we're just going to go ABC Construction. And then let's say this is getting started tentatively March 1st. And then we'll select products. I will open up my threshold. So once again, your newest project comes to the top. I'll collapse again. So you got more view with the information that we just inputted up here. But now we have a new location. So this was the address I put it in. And so it categorized or re-ranked the producers based on the location to that address. Now, because this project was in Colorado and we've already identified that's private sector, we're only focusing on the Colorado materials. If I did a federal project, for instance, we would change the materials, for instance, because wood's not available in the federal programs. So exact same flow. You essentially would select your EPDs, but I'll go jump straight to the project materials to show you what it looks like from scratch. So in this case, I'll add a bid item. We are working on tools where you can upload your bid items, and we have an AI prototype where it simply automatically creates it, but for now it's manual. And so we'll just say this is going to be a concrete foundation. Going to need 2 EPDs because it's reinforced. Okay, I have to type live. And I'm glad this is recorded so you guys can all see how bad my typing is and spelling. Here we go, rebar concrete. And then I'll create the bid item. And what you'll notice is that we're automatically tracking the materials. So right now, because we haven't had a complete bid item yet, that chart is empty. We have identified that we have 1 bid item, but no EPDs or products associated. So it's EPD pending, and there's been no material data inputted. So we don't have cost or savings. So now I'll add a product, and we'll call it concrete mix 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll say just for demo's sake, it's 1,000 cubic yards. And we'll say once again for demo's sake, $60 per cubic yard. I'll add product. So now you can see that we've added the quantity and the price, but we don't have an EPD yet. So everything's still not being identified as compliant or not. When I add the EPD, I go add EPD. I can search an EPD from our database, which once again is primarily driven by EC3, or you can upload your own EPD. And when you upload your own EPD, it would be the PDF EPD, and then you manually fill your information in. If I search an EPD, I can search by the supplier name, if I know it, or the product name, or I can go through our click-throughs and go concrete, subcategory ready mix, and then we'll go compressor strength 4,000. And you can add the quantity now. Let's do that to make it easy, cubic yards. And then we show all of the EPDs that are available based on your criteria. and we still show the label. So we'll go this tax exempt one, and then you attach the EPD. And you'll notice now that we've started to calculate. So we've got one bid item that's compliant, $60,000 in cost, and the savings would be just under $2,000. And then let's say we want to add the rebar. So I can add another EPD to this product, or I can add a new product. But I'll add it to this one, and we'll do, I think I'll search rebar. We've got one available. And we'll demo sake, 1 metric ton, attach EPD. So this one's compliant. If I want to show what it looks like if I add a non-compliant EPD, I'll just remove this particular one. And we'll add an EPD. We'll go through the click through. And just for demo sake, I'll just choose this particular material, attach EPD, and it shows non-compliant. And therefore, it changed me to partially compliant because it's now going to have to break out the cost implications of that, which you can do based on the separating the products by the bid items. I see some questions came in. Also, feel free to jump on the line and ask questions too, if I'm not catching them. So the first question I got is this based on just Colorado, or will this be developed for other states? Yes, this is being developed for other states. The reason why we launched the playbook is so states can deploy their own bike clean programs based on all the learnings from the federal program, as well as what the OSA has done. And that playbook is right now just being socialized with all our agency partners across the country. How is distance calculated? By radius, Google travel distance. So it's by Google travel distance. So we take the place of performance or the location of the project and then map it out to the where the plant is, or where we are essentially driving from that mile tracker that we have. Is there any plan to autofill from the EPD uploaded? Absolutely. We are trying to push folks to EC3 because when it goes into EC3, it does a lot of the heavy lifting for us. If we are able to do it upload, we will be able to essentially extract that data from the EPD, but that is a work in progress. And then Elena says, we might have misheard. Did you say what is not available to federal program? That is correct. So the federal Bike Clean program via the IRA funded programs is focused on steel, glass, asphalt, and concrete. Colorado has mass timber and several subcategories of wood below that. Very cool. I can show more on how to create a product or how to create a project, but the goal here is to make it as customizable and as useful for our partners. And as you build these products, one thing that we're launching soon is next for this is the ability to create different scenarios. So you can create kind of scenario A, scenario B, subbing out different materials. Let's say you want to use more concrete or you want to explore a CLT, all that's available and to help track the sales tax savings.
Taylor, I do have a question. You mentioned the Colorado sales tax lookup on your presentation, but we have not show. I don't know if you had plans to show also. I can put it on the link on the chat. My question is that when you use the Colorado sales tax lookup and it shows how the taxes are broken down, so I just put 80204, for example, in there. And when you look at that, it tells you 9.15, but only the 2.9 Colorado sales taxes. If you selected decarbonizing materials, then also the RTD and the CD sales taxes go away. Is that being accounted on BuiltCold, or you have a flat 2.9% for every county?
We have a flat 2.9%, but we're working on the ability to update that if there is a specific county or city that has more discounts.
Okay, so just for all the attendees today, that if you want to really know specific to the area code, zip code where your project is located, the additional taxes that are not within the tool for the Colorado sales taxes will be reflected here, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, so in many cases, I think it's the base case for 2.9% in BuiltCold, and then we're working as we get closer with our agency partners to reflect the actual sales tax rate.
Great, thank you.
Very cool. Any other questions or product feedback? We are a tech company, so we're always looking to improve the experience. And so if you have requests, we are at all ears.
And Bailey, we can stop the recording now. Thank you, Taylor, so much for your presentation.